Hi everyone, it's Holly. Welcome back to my channel, Crafting with Holly. It's the last Friday of July, and I get to share with you one more project featuring this month's stamp of the month, which is the Bee's Knees. If you haven't grabbed this yet, you guys, you've got 4 days left, and it's just been really fun sharing the artwork that I created with this. It was inspired by another maker, Karen Howard. She designed 3 cards using some different paper, and I absolutely loved her designs so much that I had to use the current mix-in to create these cards. So this project I shared at the beginning of the month, so go back and check out video number 1. This was video number 2, and it's this really fun angled card. And then this was the project that I shared last week. It's a slimline. And then today, I'm going to walk you through how to create this 2-page layout that I designed the second half, but this one was inspired by the catalog. And have you ever gone into the catalog and looked at a page and viewed artwork and said, oh my gosh, I'd love to know how they did this? So this is the featured mix-in paper that I keep talking about, and I absolutely love the patterns that Close to My Heart chose, as well as the colors. And they were meant to create and coordinate with the various paper collections that are in this particular catalog, the July through August catalog. So Cape Cod is a collection that mix-in paper is designed to coordinate with. And then the other one is the new Cozy Up. And so all of these patterns were designed to be mixed in together with these other paper collections. And this was the layout on page 22 that I really loved. I loved the sense of balance and I loved the clusters, but I loved the pattern that they created with the mix-in paper, but also with the 2 other paper collections. This is from Cape Cod, that's from Cape Cod, and then these are from the Cozy Up paper. So I decided to just take the mix-in and use it together with the stamp of the month so that you could see yet another way to take these papers and mix them up a little bit. So why don't we go ahead and get started? Don't forget our VIPs, you get this free with a $50 purchase in the month of July. And if you're not a VIP, you can purchase this for $5 with a $50 qualifying purchase. And don't forget VIPs, those of you that are part of this program, we have bundles that you can take advantage of through the end of July. With a $100 purchase, you can take advantage of a $30 free product bundle. With a $150 purchase, I want to say it's, I think it's a $40 product bundle. And then if you spend $200, it's a $60 product bundle that you get free as a VIP. So if you're not a VIP, you guys sign up. What an incredible special going on this month, not to mention you can get the stamp of the month for free. So let's dive in to this 2-page layout. We're going to do the left page first, and then we're going to finish with the right page. So I'm going to just kind of set this off to the side, and I'll refer to it throughout my class. And know that there is a guide that will walk you through how to create every single project in this month's Stamp of the Month collection. You'll get that guide free when you purchase on my website and get your Stamp of the Month. So I've kind of already got things started here because this is quite a large project to record on camera, and I really don't want to bother you with all the little minute details. But I want to walk you through the process of creating this pattern on the corners, the top right and the bottom left. And what I did, with the help of my friend Jen Patrick, who is a teacher, thank you for pointing this out. She's like, why don't you just use a ruler, Holly? And I was like, yeah, why don't I? So I took our fabulous T ruler and I detached the top portion of it, which, let me just show you how awesome this ruler is, you guys, and they're back in stock. So here's our new T ruler. I simply detached the top and went from corner to corner to create this line with a pencil. And if it starts showing, you can always go back and erase it. but I wanted to create this line so that I could see how I wanted to line everything up. So that's how I did it. And then I simply started taking these pieces. They're 1 by 3 inch pieces, and some of them you're going to want to cut in half for when they lay over. And I started lining these up the way I wanted them to. And the key with this is you want to make sure that these pieces line up right here into the corner, because you're going to be trimming all of that off with your scissors. And then for this piece, it is stamped. And I'm going to show you how to do that in just a minute using that really fun honeycomb image and honey butter ink. And then we also are going to be doing some ink blending with the Glacier ink, and I want to walk you through how to do that right now. And so what we want to do is we want to put some Glacier ink over here in this quadrant, and then we want to also do it up here in this quadrant. And the best thing that I have found to do is to get your blending brush, which I love these from Close to My Heart. You can get them in a package of 3. And I like to take my finger and just kind of press lightly onto the pad so that I make sure I get enough ink. And don't worry about it staining the brush. As you can see, I've used other blues on here, but it's not going to ruin the integrity of your ink pad, and it's not going to ruin your project after you wash this out. And then I just like to take a scrap piece of paper just like this, just so that I can see what my color looks like. And it's very soft, and that is the goal. We want it to be really soft and subtle. So I'm just going to take this, and in a circular motion, I'm just going to add my color. And as I need to get more, I will go back into my ink pad and just tap it and get a little bit more ink. And I just want to create this cloud of color up in this little quadrant right in here. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to do the same thing over here. As you can see, I just want to bring this back into camera so that you can see it's right here in this corner and then right up there in that top corner. So I'm just going to come back over here, and you can see the heavier handed you are, the more ink that you're going to release onto the brush. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. So now let's go ahead and do the stamping of that piece right there. And I've got all of my, whoops, let's see, here it is, right in front of me. So here is that piece of honey butter, and we're using the dark side. I'm going to go ahead and close up that ink pad, and we're going to grab this one right here. And we are going to stamp it, and I'm just going to stagger where I place that all along this piece. And it can be, you can use as much of it or you can use as little of that honeycomb image as you want. It just helps to create some texture, some visual texture on this cardstock. And that's what I love about a lot of these images, is they are so versatile and you can do so much with them. Okay. And you'll notice that we're not using the whole piece on here. We're only using just a small amount, and we're going to put that on near the end once we get those pieces added. Okay, so I'm going to speed the video up a little bit so that you don't have to watch this in slow motion, so to speak, but you'll notice where I place all of the pieces, and sometimes I'm going to have to adjust along the way. So let's go ahead and start applying these really fun pieces of this mix-in paper. Okay, so now I am attaching these 1 by 3 inch pieces of the mix-in paper into the corners. And I'm trying to get them lined up following the line that I created with my pencil. And some of these I'm going to have to adjust and move them around as I'm attaching them, and know that that's okay. So as you're doing this and you're using your strong adhesive, just be really careful, because you may need to lift them up and reposition them as you're going along. And I'm just following the pattern that I created on the original page. And I'm using just a double-sided removable Tombow adhesive for this. And I would encourage you to do that instead of using like a red tape or a score tape. It's just going to be too strong and you're going to end up tearing your paper. And I accidentally do that quite a bit during this process. So as I'm laying these out, I'm just making sure that I'm getting them right into the corners of the 1 by 3 inch pieces so that I can trim them and that they hang over correctly. And I'm adjusting it because they're not all matching up the way I wanted them to, and that's okay. You know, this is just a process. It's so much easier when you're not being recorded and figuring out how you want to lay everything out. So just take your time. It's a really fun pattern and it just looks so great when it's finished. And I'm just getting these lined up into the corner, so adjust them as needed because you really want that to be nice and flush as you're getting ready to trim with your scissors. You want to be able to have that hangover on those. And then I'm using the glitter paper, and I did use that same Tombow adhesive, and it got really, really sticky and tore off some of my shimmer trim, but at least I didn't have to use the whole thing. And then that's that honey butter or a buttercup. Oh my gosh, I can't even think right now. The honey butter, is that right? Anyway, I attached that and then put the shimmer trim right on top of it. And now I'm just trimming these all off. And just be really careful that you're not cutting your white daisy base as you're trimming those pieces that are hanging over off. And that's why I love these nonstick scissors, because they do such a great job just cutting through that paper even with adhesive on the back of it. And now we're just going to do the other side. And you'll see sometimes they're sticking onto my nonstick scissors, but for the most part they're not. And it is way easier to do this when you're not recording yourself. So I appreciate your grace on this one because this one was a little bit more challenging than some of my past projects, but I love the outcome of it. So I'm going to just clean up my Versamat, and now we're going to get ready to attach the photos. Okay, now that is done, we can take our eraser and we can erase all of these pencil marks that we created just so that they're not visible. And if you didn't like this little tiny corner here, you could always take a piece of scrap paper. Like, say for instance, we could take the sapphire piece. If you've got a little piece of sapphire left over, I would put like a little piece of sapphire right there. I don't have one from this particular pack, but you totally could do that. And put that over there. I think that would be a really good visual, would be a piece of sapphire. Okay, so we are now ready to mount this onto our Mink Cardstock. Let's go ahead and just get some adhesive on here. And this is 12 by 12. And like I said, all of the measurements are on the guide that you will get access to. And we're just going to center that right like that. And now all we need to do is add our photo mats. We're going to do a little bit more stamping. I'm going to show you how to do that with those really fun honeycombs. So let's just kind of get this placed where we want it, which is about right like this. And I am missing a piece of sapphire right there. So let me grab that. I'll grab that from this little stash right here. And we're going to put that down right in like that. And then we can move this where we want this to be positioned, like so. And then I'm going to bring this down a little bit with my foam pad from my stamp set. And we're going to stamp with the Sapphire ink, and we're going to stamp with the honey butter. Let's grab that little honey butter guy. our little honeycomb. Let me move that out of the way. And we're going to lift this up and just kind of stagger where we place the little honeycomb. And I lined it up so that my hexagons look like they were connected. And then we're gonna bring one over just like that. Perfect. And then I wanted to put some down here in the bottom. And let's go ahead and do that as well. And you can always take a Post-it note like this if you need to do some masking, and lay that right like that. And we're going to stamp that one really good right there. I love that. And then I want to try and mask it. Actually, you know what? I think we'll be okay. I'm going to just bring this down just a little bit more and have that kind of come out like that. And then we want another one over here. And I think that's good. And if you want, you can even bring one down here in this corner like that. Perfect. Okay. And then we're going to stamp up here in this corner, Celebrate Every Moment, with some Sapphire ink. This was a more traditional card set, but I love being able to show you how to take a sentiment like this and put it onto a layout. Perfect. Okay. We are now ready to take our pieces that we have already cut out and colored. There is a color guide that you'll get in my instructions, and I did a video on video number 2, and I walked you through some of my coloring techniques. And you know what, we're gonna leave this foam pad, the foam tape backing on here. I'm just going to secure it down at the bottom because I want to be able to tuck my pictures in behind this. And you can see, look at how great that turned out right there with the sponging on both areas. And then we're going to attach these little accents right over here like that, and over here on the bottom, just like so. Okay, so layout number 1 is done. Let's move on to the second page. Okay, now we are ready to do layout, the right page of this layout, and we're going to go ahead and take the white piece of paper, and we're going to do the ink blending that we need to do up in these corners, and then we're going to go ahead and start building this piece. So just like on the left side of the page, we're going to take the Glacier ink and the blending brush, and I'm going up in the top left quadrant of the right page, and then we're going to go down here into kind of the middle of the middle right side of the page. And you may need to add more color after we get the photo mats down, and you'll see that in just a few minutes. And so now what we're going to do is take those pieces of 1x3 inch mix-in papers, and I'm going to kind of lay them out a little bit how I want to attach them. And we're going to start with the polka dot paper and start in that top right hand corner, and then this is the Glacier piece, and I'm just alternating between the patterns, and there's not even 1/4 of an inch separating them. It's more like 1/8 of an inch. The key is to make sure that you get those pieces right up along the edge so that you can trim them off and you don't see a lot of space. And I'm trimming these as I go, and I would highly encourage you to do the same thing. And now I'm going to take that piece that I stamped the honeycomb on, and I'm going to put it right where I want it to be covered up by that desert sand polka dot paper. And you can see that my sage piece got attached to my Versamat, so I had to put a little bit more adhesive onto it. And now I'm getting that silver glitter paper and attaching that as well. And then I'll trim off those pieces before I finish attaching the rest of the mix-in paper. And again, just make sure you're using a nice strong adhesive. And as you can see, I just didn't have enough, so I kept putting it back on to that, and just trim it. And now we can go ahead and finish attaching the rest of those pattern papers. And again, you're just looking at the spacing as you're doing this, making sure that they hang over and also that they're spaced out. So this is the sapphire piece. And then I noticed that it wasn't matching up, so I'm kind of adjusting that and seeing what pieces I need to put in place. So before I attach that piece of mink, I realized that I'm missing the honey butter piece, so I'm gonna pull that up now, and we're gonna get the honey butter and move that over in its place. And again, adjusting that polka dot and moving it back a little bit. It's definitely a work in progress, so be patient when you're doing this. I laid it all out first and then I attached it with adhesive. It's a little bit different when you're recording and trying to teach a class online. So again, I appreciate your patience with me and your grace while I'm trying to show you how to do this on camera. And again, you're just filling in the spaces. So this second one that I'm doing for you on camera isn't exactly like my original, and that's only because of the spacing, and I didn't want to have to tear everything up and replace it. So I'm just taking my extra pieces, I'm trimming them as I need to, and just continuing the pattern down the side of the page. And it turns out beautiful. It really does. So now we're just putting down these last few pieces. And then once we do that, we will be able to get the rest of the photo mats on here. And then we're going to trim this now. It definitely was a lot easier to trim this side than it was the left side of the paper. And I'm just turning this around now and just finishing up that trimming and getting those little scraps out of the way. And now we will be able to mount this onto the Mink Cardstock as the base. And oh, actually, you know what? We're going to put that last piece of honey butter down at the bottom, and then we'll use that last strip of silver glitter paper. Definitely a lot easier when they aren't being tucked behind something else. And then I'm using that Post-it note because I forgot to stamp the rest of that little honeycomb pattern. And that's what I love about Post-it notes. There is no such thing as a mistake in scrapbooking, right? You can always fix your mistakes. And so I'm glad you're able to see some of my baubles and how my approach to fixing them. Okay, so now we are ready to attach this onto the Mink base, and it is the dark side of the Mink cardstock. And those just get centered on there. And now I'm going to gather up all 6 of those desert sand photo mats. And I do have to trim that piece of sage paper just so that it isn't shown all the way through. And now I'm just adjusting where do I want to place these on my layout. And I do want to move them over a little bit more so that they're more flush with the left side of the page. And so that's what I'm doing right now. And then just take your adhesive, and once you're ready to get them attached, go ahead and use your adhesive. And I did need to use a little bit of the blending brush to kind of add more ink to those quadrants that I had done on camera with you. And that's okay. That's the beautiful thing about this, right? Is you can go back and add color as needed. Just gently lift up your photo mats to adjust and place them where you want them to. And then that piece actually needs to be where the journaling goes, and you'll see in a minute that I have to lift that up and change that. But I love that journaling set from the new catalog, and you'll see a picture of that in just a minute. So I'm just adding some more of the Glacier ink And then I'm also going to take the honeycomb and stamp those in the honey butter. And then once I get that placed, I'm going to do the last one down here in the bottom right quadrant. And then that's that journaling spot that I was telling you about. Love that set. I love these dashed lines and the stitching on them. So I'm just using some foam tape, and we're using Sapphire ink to stamp those journaling lines. And I want that in the center of that 3x3 piece of cardstock. And then I did put it in the wrong area, so now I'm going to lift those up and just get those positioned in the right spot. So just be careful as you're trying to do that. I'm kind of twisting it and shimmying it so I don't tear the white daisy cardstock underneath. And use your scissors if you need to kind of lift that up as well. And then once you get those lined up, we will then start finishing the rest of this by taking those really cute honeycomb and flower pieces that we've already stamped and colored. And then we're going to take our little bumblebee and have him kind of fly off the page where the journaling lines are. And I just absolutely love how that turned out. And I love just adding those little honeycomb accents underneath the bumblebee too. And that's really all there is to it. And then there's those two little flowers left that we're going to attach. And you can just strategically place those where you'd like to. I put one down there in the bottom right quadrant, and then I did lay one over on top of the mix-in paper collection. And there you go. Well, we did it. We have created a 2-page layout using that beautiful stamp set from this month's Stamp of the Month. I hope you've enjoyed this entire month and all of the different projects that I've shared with you. I would love it if you would like and subscribe to my channel and share this with one of your crafting friends that loves close to my heart and loves paper crafting. Thank you so much for joining me, you guys, and I will catch you next week when I share with you the August Stamp of the Month. We'll see you soon.